started reading a new book this morning and I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. So, the book that I started reading is The Book Witch by Meg Shaffer. This is my first book by this author. She has written two other books that are kind of popular, but I haven't picked them up because the summary for those books didn't really attract my attention. However, this book sounds like it would be like the perfect cozy spring read. Our female main character in this book is a book witch. So, what it means is that she can hop into books, and the purpose of book witches are to kind of like help to make sure the stories stay on course and fight some villains who are trying to mess up the stories. Our female main character's favorite book is this mystery series, and she also has a very big crush on the detective who is the main character in the series. So far, I am about 50 pages, 53 pages into this book, and I think that this is just such a cute palette cleanser kind of read. If you like rom-coms, you will enjoy this. It's giving like Hallmark Christmas movie vibes. The story and characters do feel kind of surface level, like they don't have a lot of depth to them, but not every book has to be that deep. And the romance is insta lovey. I think like for the female main character, I kind of understand it because she started reading these mystery books since she was young, so she has like developed that crush and have years of falling in love with the detective. But for the detective, it does feel a little bit like unnatural, like not very believable. Or maybe I'm just a hater because the detective is not like my favorite kind of male lead. He's very flirty and like coming on a bit too strong, but that's part of his character. He's supposed to be this kind of like confident and stylish kind of guy. And even though I do think this is like kind of considered an adventure story with our female main character, hopping into books and fighting villains, but I feel like this is not one of those books that will get your adrenaline pumping. It's more of a cutesy, low stakes kind of book, and if you like rom coms, I think you will enjoy this one. Talking about getting my adrenaline pumping, I kind of want to start another book today, and I'm thinking a romantasy. So the second book for this series just came out. This is the Shields of Sparrow series by Devney Perry. And I'm feeling a bit of a FOMO, so I kind of want to start the first book and see how I feel about it. And if I enjoy it, I'll maybe read the second book immediately. So I don't actually know anything about this book, but according to the summary, it says here Shield of Sparrows is a slow burn, high stakes romantasy perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, where enemies become lovers, monsters stalk a cursed realm, and a forgotten princess finds the strength to tear off her crown and become the warrior she was never meant to be. So there's enemies to lovers, and sounds like one of those typical romantasy that's not different from other romantasies, but I still want to check it out and see how I feel. So I think I'm gonna start reading Ships of Sparrow tonight, and then I will come back to give you guys my first thoughts. I have made some progress on both of these books, so let's kind of discuss my thoughts so far. Let's talk about the book witch first. I am now at page 96. And there are two plot points that I didn't talk about earlier, and it's not a spoiler because it's on the summary of the book. So she just finds out that one, a book that is very precious to her gets stolen, and then two, her grandfather has been on a book assignment because her grandfather is also a book witch, and she finds out that the assignment is off the books and her grandfather hasn't returned yet, so now she's worried and believes that, he's in danger. And who better to help her investigate these two things than the detective from her favorite mystery novel? I actually kind of like the female lead. I think she's really cute. She goes on this like little side quest to solve some book related issues. So these book witches, they not only hop into books, but they also solve other issues like, restoring old books or using like protection spells on books and so on. Also, the author adds a lot of puns in this book. For me personally, reading this book, it kind of helps me to calm down a little bit because I do have a lot of anxiety, and sometimes it's my fault that I'm having anxiety since I keep consuming media that's giving me anxiety. But reading this book, it does kind of calm down my mind and body a little bit. Now let's talk about Shields of Sparrow. I'm currently around 55% into this book. And remember how I said I wanted an adrenaline pumping book? This was not it. The pacing in this book is slow, and I feel like I just keep reading it because I'm waiting for something to happen. Let me get into what this book is about. I feel like the summary doesn't really give you much, but I want to give you guys a little bit more background and a little bit more context so you can decide for yourself if this is a book worth picking up. Our female main character, Odessa, she is a princess and she gets forced into a marriage with a prince from another kingdom. In this realm, there are like maybe five, I forgot the exact number, maybe five kingdoms, and all these kingdoms have a sort of like agreement that the heirs are gonna like marry each other, and that's how they kind of keep the peace between the kingdoms. Even though all the kingdoms have this, treaty agreement, they still are wary of each other. So Odessa's father, the king, wants Odessa to spy on her husband's kingdom because in her husband's kingdom there is this like one place or city or something that nobody outside of that kingdom knows where it's located, and Odessa's father want Odessa to kind of figure out how to infiltrate that place. He doesn't really tell her why he wants to know the location of that place, but it is the order of the king, so she agrees to do it. There is an enemies to lovers tag on this book, but I'm not very like convinced that the tag applies to the romance in this book because Odessa doesn't really have any like personal grudge or hatred towards the people of, her husband's kingdom. She just dislikes him because he's always like teasing her. They have, this banter going on. There's one thing that Odessa does every single time throughout this book. Every time she sees him interacting with another woman, she always gets in her head like, oh, he has a lover, trying to convince herself like, oh no, he's not attractive. I'm not attracted to him. He's not hot at all. And then when she finds out that he's not with that woman, then she's like, oh, relief. As I said, the pacing is very, very slow. A lot of the book is just her kind of like traveling around different places in the New Kingdom. I actually don't dislike this book, but I wouldn't necessarily say this is a book that's gonna like blow your mind. At least for me, it's not blowing my mind. But I don't feel bored or I don't hate it enough to stop reading, so I'm gonna continue reading it. And maybe now that I'm past the 50% mark, maybe the story will start to pick up. just finished reading The Book Witch earlier today, and overall, I enjoyed the book. It is a simple, cute, and charming story. Sometimes it feels like I'm reading a middle grade or a young adult book. I mean, there are some adult jokes in this book, but overall, it's PG. There is no spice at all. Even though I enjoyed it and it does calm me down a little bit, I did not feel a lot of excitement while reading, even though they're like solving a mystery. Maybe it's because the story is a little bit too tame for my taste. There is a very interesting idea plot twist that the author insert in this story. I think if you enjoy Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett, I think you will enjoy this book. But I stand by what I said about the male lead not being my favorite. He's a little bit annoying to me and gave me the ick a little bit. But overall, I did enjoy this book. I have also finished reading Shield of the Sparrows and also the second book, Rites of the Starling. The first book kind of ended on an interesting note, a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I had to continue with the second book. In the second book, there is a new POV, and I really enjoyed following the new POV. Also, the world kind of expanded in the second book, and it is so interesting to learn more about the magic and the other people in this world. I will say though that both books are quite predictable, like the romance and the story. I had my prediction on who this new POV is, and I was right. And I think people were emotional reading the ending of the second book, and I'm someone that gets super emotional reading books, but in this one, I did not shed a single tear. And I don't know if it's because I already predicted how the ending was gonna turn out, but I'm definitely interested to see how the third book is gonna turn out. I did enjoy the second book a lot more than the first book. Do I think it's worth it? Because I already mentioned, and this is the last time I'm going to say it, the first book has a very slow pace. So do I think it's worth it to patiently read through the first book to get to the second book? For me personally, I had a fun reading experience, but I don't know if I would recommend to other people, especially if they're in a reading slump, because I think if you're in a reading slump, it's gonna be quite hard to get through the first book. So I guess only pick up this book if you're in the mood for a slow pace, slow burn kind of romantasy. And I think this is a good place to end this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.